Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I am Muslims Abdul, and you are watching Pan-African Climate Focus. As the global community, we have agreed that we shall tackle climate change together. We have done this one under the Paris Agreement. We have gone ahead to set for ourselves climate goals together with climate finance goals. By 2035, the climate gap that exists is 1.3 US trillion. But by 2050, we ought to have reduced global temperatures to at least below 2 degrees centigrade. And at least by 2100, the global temperatures must have reduced by at least 1.5 degrees centigrade. That is the global target. We have said that we shall fulfill these objectives through our national determined contributions, and more particularly through common but differentiated responsibilities under our respective capacities. In this, the developed countries are supposed to take the lead to help the low developed countries and the small island states to mitigate and adapt, plus managing loss and damage of the climate impacts. But there is something. As climate fighters, our focus is tending to turn away. That is the withdrawal of the United States from this collective responsibility by withdrawing from the Paris Agreement and later intending to withdraw from the UNFCCC. To understand the impact of the United States withdrawal, we need to first look at what the United States really emits into the global skies. By statistics, the United States is the second largest greenhouse gas emitter, just behind the Republic of China. And if we are talking about the countries which are supposed to champion or lead the fight, then the United States, at least, is supposed to be at the forefront. By reality, the United States as well doubles as the world's leading economy, or it means it is the most developed country. Therefore, that is why a lot of expectation is vested in America championing the climate change fight. So, if that is as it is being mentioned, what does really the withdrawal of America from the Paris Agreement and the UNFCCC really mean to the developing countries and the small island states? Having said that it is one of the biggest emitters of greenhouse gases. To understand this, then we'll have to set some small sub-questions which these other countries America is supposed to lead, but at least they are in the category of developed countries with whom they are supposed to lead the small fight, because these countries have as well set targets. What if America has withdrawn from the Paris Agreement? Then what will be the course of action for the other developing countries who view America as the largest greenhouse gas emitter, but then they are meant to carry the burden of sinking or taking on the burden of America when it has withdrawn from the Paris Agreement? Will they continue under the state of things, or as the affairs unfold at the moment, with the same pressure and the same urgency of fulfilling their commitments and the targets they have undertaken under the Paris Agreement? Just that America now has withdrawn from that Paris Agreement. What will the small island states and the developing countries who vest their trust or bank their trust in the developing countries taking the lead by providing the necessary finance for these countries to adapt, mitigate, and manage the loss and damage? What will these countries, will they continue with the same trust? I don't know from your perspective, but from my perspective, very many things are meant to change. For example, the low developed countries who have been banking on planning, because the developed countries, and for example America, is meant to abide by its commitment, will have to change or to deviate from their own plans of adapting to the climate impacts, simply because of low targets, or they will be forced to borrow and acquire debts. So in totality, you can see the image is changing, that there is meant to be a disturbance in the real planning. That one aside, the United States has got companies which have committed and have pledged to carry out their targets in terms of achieving net zero as well as reducing temperature levels. What will happen if the federal government is no longer having the will to continue under the Paris Agreement, which Paris Agreement is made to pressure multilateral institutions to meet their targets? The United States, as per the report of Amnesty International and the report of Human Rights Watch, has got different companies in countries like the DRC Congo. And we are all aware that the DRC Congo is plagued with subterranean forces or destabilizing forces like the M23. But remember, under the Paris Agreement, we have pledged to ourselves that while we undertake clean and just transition to clean energy, the transition ought not to be a burden to the transforming countries. Already, it has been reported that the United States, rather the companies undertaking mining in these countries, they cannot be exonerated from the deforestation taking place in that country. In the line of the supply of minerals like cobalt and coltan are responsible for making green transition accessories like electronics and batteries. Reports have come out and mentioned that these companies are involved in child labor. They have been involved in recruiting insecurity forces. So, if the federal state of America, of the United States, is withdrawing or has withdrawn from the Paris Agreement, what does this one mean in terms of the requirement of the pressure to be put onto these companies to stop these international virtues and actions? Because if children are subjected to child labor, there is the impact of brain retardation. In the long run, Africa is bearing the burden of losing human capital, which is something already has been forbidden under the Paris Agreement. In the whole, as we continue to fight climate change, there is need to pressurize the United States to abide by the commitment of remaining under the Paris Agreement.